You're 100% right. From the dawn of time, every student coming out of college thought that they should be CEO or the COO, the next level down. They don't think that they have to start from the ground up. Sure, they've got schooling and they might have some skills with that schooling,
Hmm.
but the fact is, a lot of them really don't have the strong work experience that is for that industry. And so the industry argument is like, it's great. You just graduated from a great college. Congratulations. But you know what? Stan over here, he's got a GED with 5 years of experience. So we need experienced people in this industry. So you best start low. And it's going to take, I mean, a lot of stress is going to occur with them, but they have to understand they got educated in school. Now they're going to get educated in the workforce.
Yeah.
And that's been happening since the dawn of time.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Yollab Central. Today, I have with me Mike. So, Mike, would you like to tell our audience why they should be excited about this conversation today?
Yeah, thank you very much. And I appreciate the opportunity to be on your podcast. This is awesome. Well, basically, why people should be excited is my world is career readiness. So if you're either in an occupation you're not having too much fun with, you enjoy, or you're not challenged, or
Mhm.
you're a young person in high school or college or military, and you're thinking to yourself, when this ends, what am I going to do? That's where I come in my book, because what happened was I was in a career for 30 years, tech sales. I
Mhm.
did it because I was a first generation low income student. And we were always told the way to joy and happiness is acquire a job that pays well. I did, and the job did pay well. There's no question. I have no complaints about the income or expense accounts and all the fun you have, but there's no challenge. There was no interest. I mean, when you're involved in a industry that you have no interest in, see, I was a salesman in technology. There's nothing wrong with sales. It is stressful, but for me it was kind of fun. But on the flip side though, tech wasn't my game. I wasn't really interested in latest products, all that stuff. So I did it just to make money and go out and sell it. Had a lot of good clients over the years, did a lot of interesting things, but what happened was I'm like, you know what? Is everybody as unhappy in their career as I am? So I got a website made and had people answer questions about their occupations, 20 plus questions. And when I did that, I had CEOs, actuaries, accountants all over the map, put them into the book for 101 careers by the people who actually work them, not people like full of, nonsense. And
Mhm.
in the intro and the conclusion, I talk about myself, how I should have prepared for the real world.
Mhm.
And that's the juxt of it. And is the book any good? Endorsements from educators of Harvard, Stanford, UMass, BU, Northeastern, all the top schools, as well as won two book awards, as well as Amazon bestsellers. So,
Mhm.
yeah, a lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff.
All right. Now, since we're talking about careers, right? Obviously, a lot of young people will be interested in this conversation. So, just to get the conversation started, right? For people right out of school, out of college, right? Who are looking at, I don't know, is the only options that they have are the companies that are probably the only companies that come on their campus in a campus fair, career fair, or probably just for recruitment on campus, something of that sort, right?
Yeah.
But there is a whole world out there, right outside of their campus, right? How should a new student, right out of fresh out of college, approach this world, right? Obviously, they can't go out like an experienced person saying that, yeah, I know somebody. Can you just put in a little word for me? I don't know if that is the best way to approach it. So if you could just tell everybody how they should be doing that. Let's start with
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You open a huge can of worms. Awesome, awesome. And on my second book, I go through a lot of these. I go through steps and suggestions of tactical, clear information.
Mhm.
Example: if a student's getting out of college has zero experience, they're going to have to start getting some experience. And I always inform them: go into industries that interest you, and that's the first way. Because as you and I, because we've been in the game a while, know that the 70% chance of you getting an opportunity that you want is knowing somebody. And if you don't know anybody, the best way to do it is find an industry that you enjoy and taking the lowest job on the totem pole,
Mhm.
being a gopher. Okay, this harkens back to an article by Bob Reich, who was the Secretary of Labor. He just said, you know what? Prior to grad school, go out and take the lowest job in the industry that interests you, because from there you'll understand if you like that industry. But from
Yeah.
there, you also can network with people within the company that you're working at. And then you can ask them, hey, what's it like to be in operations? Hey, Susie, can I grab you coffee? I'd like to hear what sales is like. Hey, Bob, I'd like to really understand what are you doing in marketing? And so the
Hmm.
person actually gets themselves in the door, and
Hmm.
from there can start moving up. That's, I think, the easiest way for somebody who's graduated college or high school or military.
Hmm.
If somebody's already in right now, get involved as much as possible. Show some leadership skills. Go to a trade show. There's, again, everybody's always like internships. I go, internships, sure. Part-time job, sure. Volunteer, sure. Whatever it takes to get you into that industry, to get to meet the people that will decide. People hire people they know
Yeah.
first. People, because it's like one example, this guy was on LinkedIn and it was awesome. He was like, I got a 4-row engineer and all I did is focus on grades. But as soon as I try to get a job, I couldn't because I had no other skills. And then
Yeah.
they have to learn their professional soft skills till they're blue in the face. And so
Hmm.
there's a lot of angles and suggestions. And I put all of this when I do my presentations. But yeah, that's a good one. I would just say you got to go out there. They always say network till you're blue in the face. But I spoke at a school and the student goes, I'm a senior at a good college, by the way. He goes, they tell us to network. What does that even mean? So I did all these YouTube videos and a lot of subjects of networking, and how to do it. And I give so many suggestions. It's
Hmm.
out of control. But yeah, great. That was a good. That was a fun one. Wow. It's always good getting fun questions. You know what I mean? So I appreciate that. So
Okay,
yeah,
now there's another perspective that I have, right? I don't know,
yeah.
is it a Gen Z problem or is it just something from my generation that came out, right? We came out of college and we had a lot of high expectations. You come out of a good college, you expect to get a good company, right? Expect to get a good job, you get good money, and then you're like, no, I cannot be working on the lowest I cannot be working at the lowest bottom of the totem pole, as you
Yeah,
mentioned,
yeah,
right? So,
yeah.
how do you break this conundrum for a student who's out there? I mean, they have to break this ego mindset that, yeah, to get into somewhere that they want to be, they have to be working, I don't know, toiling the soil if that is the requirement.
Oh, wow. Okay, okay. So you open up another can of worms in that one. The first thing about it is you're 100% right. From the dawn of time, every student coming out of college thought that they should be CEO or, the COO, the next level down. They don't think that they have to start from the ground up. Sure, they've got schooling and they might have some skills with that schooling.
Hmm.
But the fact is, a lot of them really don't have the strong work experience that is for that industry. And so the industry argument is like, it's great. You just graduated from a great college. Congratulations. But you know what? Stan over here, he's got a GED with 5 years of experience. So we need experienced people in this industry. So you best start low. And it's going to take, I mean, a lot of stress. It's going to occur with them, but they have to understand they got educated in school. Now they're going to get educated in the workforce.
Yeah.
And that's been happening since the dawn of time. In my second book, I revert back to a guy that you and I have heard of who came out of Yale unprepared, and he just basically failed through life for a while until he figured out how to do books for school, and he became successful after that. And his name is Noah Webster of Webster's Merriam Dictionary. So the
Right.
fact is, nobody's starting off. And that's the thing about it is all the students are going to hear all their friends that are going out there doing amazing. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
starting in this job, making all this money. I'm kicking butt on Wall Street. But in reality, most aren't. Most go out there and
Yeah.
I always tell them, I go, experience in industry that you enjoy will add up and build up.
Hmm.
And some of them, it's like, you're right. But yeah, you consistently hear it. And I talk to a lot of them right now that aren't happy because they're out there looking for gigs. And it's like, I give you the basics, just follow it and see how it goes. But, every younger person, as we all know, knows more than you and I, right? So, but hopefully someone listening, are just open-minded. So,
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's one thing, right? It's just that sometimes people are not, I mean, I know it's just young blood sometimes, right? Even I was there, so I know how it feels, right? You probably were there at some point thinking that, I'm the best in the world and I'm supposed to be doing the highest paid job in the world. But yeah.
It's true. It's true. It's everywhere. It's across the states, across the world, everywhere. They go to a good school and boom, they automatically deserve to be the king, or the queen. But yeah.
Okay. So coming to another interesting question that I have now. Sometimes when you're in your career, right, somewhere in between, now you feel like, no, I thought that this was the industry for me. Now I've been here a while. It's not working out. It's time for me to flip the script itself. I want to change industries. Now this is something that a lot of people have tried. Again, would you still suggest for them to start at the bottom or somewhere in between? Where how, I mean, obviously everybody just says that leverage the skills that you've got in this industry and just pitch it to them and say that, yeah, you'll be able to uh, give these skills a shot in that new industry. But how is it? How have you seen things?
Yeah, I've actually seen it often because when I was in tech sales, we lost a lot of guys. Mostly because I worked. It was mostly when I say guys, it was seriously because it was technology sales and it's mostly a male-dominated industry. But the fact is, when the industry started slowing,
Hmm.
they were jumping on the mortgage brokerage game,
Hmm.
and they did it for a couple of years. And I was always baffled. I'm like, I don't get it. I go, cybersecurity is a hot industry. It's maybe you're at a company that just you're not enjoying or whatever, or they wanted to take a break. But then again, they basically switched selling product A to selling product B. So the skill set really was the same. It was just they were selling different products. So I saw that a lot. But also what I saw too was um, some of my cohorts were leaving technology sales because of the pressure and starting in industries that were less pressure or some were more joyous. One of my friends, he went into the music industry and he had to start pretty low in the totem pole, but he understood that that's where he wanted to go, and now he's very successful.
Hmm.
Another friend went into the defense industry, and again, he got an opportunity because of a connection. And he started off, not at the same level as he was within the tech industry. He just brought himself down, but he understood that he'll have to take cut and pay and try to prove himself. But the skills he learned in technology sales about how to get, so much more credibility within the company wasn't in the defense industry. So he's out there every time he works a project, he's like, hey, can anybody, give me some type of endorsement? And he kept on getting endorsements, so the company loved him, so he started moving up. So we learn a lot of our tricks can be transferred over to different industry, but again, your question is real. This is imperative for any younger person. That question there, please understand what he was saying was transferring industries. And that's why I really push on to find something that interests you early on. Because here's an example. If you're in healthcare and you're in sales and healthcare and you get burnt out of sales, and you will,
Yeah.
as we all know, everybody in sales does, if you really know about sales,
Yeah.
then you could transfer to marketing and you're in the same industry, meaning you've got to know a lot of people that you've networked with over the years. Sales guys and marketing people are networking machines because they have to be.
Hmm.
But transferring from sales to engineering might be tough, but there's also ways around that with certifications and knowledge. It's been done. I've seen it all the time. And you can go into operations. There's a variety of things, but at least you're well entrenched in
Hmm.
that industry. And with that, that gives you connections.
Yeah. Okay. Now, just to ask, right, this the conversation that we're having, right? There's a lot of humdrum about the whole career transition, this, that on social media. People love to talk about it. Like, I'm an expert at this, and I'll be telling you tips and tricks about this career specifically. Like, say I'm a product manager, right? And then they keep talking about something like that. A lot of them are successful, right? Uh, if you had to suggest somebody, how should they be picking an influencer, okay, or somebody to look up to? What should they be looking at? Should they be looking at, has this person worked the way that they would like to work, or is it that the person is in a position that they want to be? Like, because these are two different things. Like, it could be that the person is in a position, or the trajectory is something that I want.
It's a really good question. I've got to say, nobody's ever asked that one before. And in my situation, it's funny when I talk to the younger people, And let's go back in time when we were, 18 or 20. Who did we look up to? People who are 22 and 25. But as we get older, we're like, I always tell the students, I go, sure, it's great. Talk to the people that are a few years older that will give you some guidance. But again, they really don't know. The brain doesn't mature until 25. So
Hmm.
I always tell them, I go, feel free to check with those people. But I truly want you guys to talk to is people that have been in industry 5, 10, 15, and 20 years. And
Yeah.
I always say the longer in the industry, the better, because they're going to know a lot more. And to tie into your question too is you're right. In the positions that they want to be in, they should follow too. So I always make sure they follow people and they can look them up too. If somebody's, I mean, some of these influences, some are useful, some are not. If the person's very young, extremely attractive, they're going to get a lot of followers because of their looks. But if their resume is really weak and you can see it on LinkedIn, maybe they're, hype or just they're very good looking at that time.
Yeah.
But yet, if somebody's not as exciting and has less followers, that's a way you can reach out to them a lot more, get some more candid and clear advice.
Yeah.
So in that situation, you could get some good information from somebody who is 30, 35, 40, 55 and more, who's been in industry and understands, product management versus product marketing. What are those different things? So the good news is people like you are out there, being influencers and getting the word out, but also you're doing it, with different angles and suggestions. But yeah, I'd suggest, I always tell them, I do read as much as possible. When you deal with an influencer or anybody who's out there writing articles, reach out and connect with them. I go,
Hmm.
if somebody's writing an article that's very specific, I go, the chance of people reading it is going to be slim. But the fact is now you might have a connection to the person who wrote it
Yes.
or the person who did that video. And just look at their follower base. If the followers like 75 billion people, no, they're not going to respond. But if it's a few thousand or something like that, sure, you're going to get a response back by, oh yeah, yeah, here's something. And that's the way to do it. That's also called networking as well. So,
Yes.
oh yeah, yeah, I have everybody has to do all this stuff. I'm on LinkedIn, YouTube. Those are my ones I really focus on the most. So yeah.
Okay, now since you've talked about you're on social media, so I want to know how's it going, right? What are you mentioned, right? You talk specifically about giving tips and tricks as to how to be
Yeah.
networking and networking. So, what are the questions that people are asking you on social net on the platforms, right? You must be getting questions in comments. What's the most asked question that you have, right, these days?
Well, you know what it was? My questions usually revolve when I speak to students at schools and all
Hmm.
like that. When it came back, especially that networking one, they are okay. So you're kind of getting to a situation where you're really exploding these cans of worms. Here's an issue right now that's going on
Hmm.
is industry wants these students that have professional or soft skills as they call them, right? So they
Yeah.
have to learn to speak public, them, but a lot of students are not aware. The
Mhm.
reason is a large majority of schools are not teaching this. And
Okay.
so I'm dealing with students who are super hyper focused on subject A, B, or C, but yet just don't know the understanding of working in teams. They don't understand about public speaking. They don't understand about proper writing,
Yeah.
leading with influence and all like that. And so that's where the big issue is occurring in America right now and there's
Okay.
this big divide. And so a lot of times I get questions about that. And they're like,
Mhm.
hey, Wysocki, we're getting killed out there. We can't find opportunity, but yet they keep going down the same path of applying for a gig. And we mentioned earlier, going to trade shows. I'm like, how many of you guys are going there? And
Yeah.
so in my next book, when I talk to all these students out there that are in the colleges, again, the same divide. Half of them are going out there killing it. They're doing all the right stuff. The other half are just like, they're ready to graduate college with an accounting degree and haven't read one book about accounting. And I'm like, really? One book? One book in 4 years? You can't read one book about some great accountant? No. Wow. But others have read 15 or 20. And I'm like, amazing. So yeah. So hopefully that that answered that when I went a little off the deep end, but as I do.
No, that's perfectly fine. I love conversations that go everywhere. Now, since you're in the field of helping people with their careers, there's this one question, right, which creates kind of a controversy about paid and unpaid internships. Okay. Now, obviously, students have to be given opportunities, right? And not every company has the bandwidth to offer everybody money, and especially be training people and then give them money as well. But then, what's the ethical way, or what do you feel is the best way out, according to you? Obviously, I'm not sure. But yeah, unpaid internships versus paid internships. Every student does prefer a paid internship, but nobody, not all of them offer a paid internship, right? So how should people be approaching this?
Yeah, I always start with a joke about that. I always tell the students if they want to work for free, come over and paint my house. But usually, here's what it boils down to is again another divide we see big time in America is I try to focus on the first generation low income students because I want to try to elevate them because I think the opportunities
Yeah,
out there are immense. And so
that's
these
right.
guys can't go out and work for free.
Yes.
And so with those, I always tell them, I go, if worse comes to worse, if you need to quote volunteer or do something like, to learn something for free, do it. I do it all the time. In case when I started doing my book journeys and all like that, I was doing pro bonos.
Hmm.
And so that's just a way to build the resume.
Hmm.
But the fact is, if you can get some money, that is the ultimate goal.
Hmm.
And I also inform students, I go, internships, when it was my time, when I was out there, we used to call them summer jobs or part-time jobs.
Yeah.
It all boils down is if they can do it or not. I always tell them shoot for cash as much as you can make in your internship or part-time job or whatever to learn. But the other thing too is remember it's experience.
Yeah.
So always feel free to take a little less than you expected. So because the experience on the resume will pay off. And
Hmm.
especially if it's good experience that focuses on the industry that you want to get into. And so I always tell them, I go, you know what, if you want to take a part-time job, I go, don't be a dishwasher if you're not going into hospitality. I
Yeah.
go, go find a part-time gig, at an actuarial firm or something like that, if that's your game. But they have to get into the network. And
Mhm.
but you're right with the internships. I know it's a big hype, but I always tell students, I go, here's another one for you. I go, do a summer job, and you'll be interviewing somebody probably 40 or 50, and they'll be saying, why did you do an internship? Well, instead I got a summer job, and they'll laugh and go, it's the same thing anyway. So it's just like, you know what I mean? Everything doesn't have to be pretty, but the other thing too is we
Yeah.
want the students to move up the ladder and we want the students to go out there and just try different things. You don't want to be everybody, we don't want to make them all cookie cutter. I
Hmm.
mean, it will be dull. So, you go out there and try different things and learn different things. But yeah, if you can swing it, go for it. But I always suggest getting paid. And especially
Yeah.
with the students I deal with, I always really push it a lot. But
Hmm. Now, another question. We partly discussed this earlier, but then just want to ask again, okay, about taking a pay cut, right? When
yep,
you're switching jobs and
yep,
you feel, yeah, this job is not worth it, and now I'm getting a good job, which seems more challenging, there's more value. Is it worth taking the pay cut? So,
100%.
how do you approach it, and how do you suggest others to approach this?
Well, here's the thing about it is, I've seen both sides of the fence. I got
Hmm.
a friend who's in technology sales, and he's an amazing sales guy, and
Hmm.
he dislikes it. He clearly and concisely dislikes it. I told him once, I go, I'm not going to use the name, obviously, but I told him, I go, hey, I think about 95% of the guys in our industry dislike tech sales. He goes, you're way off. It's 98%. I'm like, whoa. But he's doing it for the cash only, and he has a family, and he has to pay the bills. So he's
Hmm.
taking the bullet like a lot of people I've met have. On the flip side, it's like everything, but they do make good cash. So they can put, 3, 6, a year plus in the bank. Some guys have 2 years in case of emergency money in the bank. And during that time, go out there and find an industry you enjoy and start doing all your research and network and meet these people and figure out something that actually you might be able to transition yourself into. So you
Hmm.
already have the savings built up. And for young people, they're like, whoa, savings, what are you talking about? In time, as you get older, you can build up savings and you
Yeah.
can transfer industry, we'll say
Hmm.
at 40 years old, because most people work 40 years, 22 to 62 or plus. I mean, I'm gonna keep going until I pass,
Yeah.
because doing this is a joy. But you're right.
Hmm.
The transitioning in industry, you will lose money, period. It's got to be a new environment. You're not going to get used to it. You're not going to know everybody inside and out. But
Hmm.
if your current occupation is so stressful and I mean, really is making your life miserable, look to an alternative, but
Hmm.
look to an alternative and take time doing it. You don't want to jump from one frying pan to another.
Hmm.
It has to be something that interests you.
Yes.
Because I've seen guys just go, go, go. They leave company X and go to company Y. And I talked to one of my buddies. I go, "Are you taking off a week or two?" He goes, "No, I'm leaving on Friday. I'm starting another gig on Monday." And I'm like, wow, man, no, I mean, it's like, so
Mhm.
they just, they just think too much like a machine and they act too much like a machine. So when it comes to transferring a new industry, it's going to be tough. I actually did it one time in my career
Mhm.
and it was a disaster. But the company I transferred to, again, it was just for money only. I had no
Yeah.
interest in it, and it got bought out and resold and blah blah blah. And I'm like, you
Yeah.
know what, I'm mulligan, and so it
Mhm.
happens. But, yeah, what can you do? But yeah, they have to prepare. You're not going to make the same kind of coin. It
Right.
just it's the
Mhm.
way it is.
Okay. Now, there's one thing, just I know I'm asking you a lot of random questions, but then again, it's just things that I've been seeing on
You're
social
asking
media,
very
right?
good questions. You're asking very good questions. Not random. They're good. I like them. They're fun.
Okay.
Keep going.
Now, this one last thing that I want to ask. I've been seeing this discussion on social media, specifically on LinkedIn, right? Where there are a lot of people going out on social media saying that companies are now booting out people who are somewhere in their 40s, 45s, who are middle management, and then they're probably not adding as much value because they're now overpriced, and somebody can do the same job in a much lesser salary, who's probably 35, 32, or something of that sort.
12.
Now, I mean, yeah, depending on the experience, 30, 35, 40, something of that sort. But definitely they're getting
Yeah,
the same kind of skill set at a very lesser price, right? So
correct.
now for these people who are stuck in middle management at 40, 45, right? What is your suggestion for people that there? I mean, you've written such a great book. So,
Wow. Yeah, this is one of the most interesting questions I'll ever ask. I mean, answer because it's just like, okay, wow, you got a lot. Okay, a lot in this one. First, let's go after the middle managers.
hmm.
Okay. Over the years, I've had a lot of middle managers, aka bureaucrats, that were, basically fat. They have no value whatsoever.
That's right.
I worked at this one company for a short period of time, a dot bomb, and instead of having a sales like middle manager guy, we had a conduit. And what the conduit was a young person straight out of college, and any questions and issues would go to the conduit, and the conduit would resolve. And so there was no need for middle management.
Hmm.
So if there's any major problems, we'd go right to the vice president of sales.
Yeah.
But the conduit resolved a lot of our issues, so we could go out and sell more product. Okay,
Yeah.
so I would like to see if companies go out there and get rid of the middle managers and go into conduits, because you can't find a conduit with an accounting degree or somebody understands numbers and facts and all that
Hmm.
stuff can help the salespeople operate.
Yeah.
On the flip side, middle manager that fails, that doesn't want, they can't make it up to upper management. There's usually an issue. So I, the people that I've worked with over the years that went into middle management with two types.
Hmm.
One that couldn't hack sales. They were not good salespeople. And they
Okay.
tried to go to management and they couldn't go into management. But I had one though that was amazing in operations. And
Hmm.
he thought he was a salesman and thought he was a manager as well. And he was failed
Okay.
at both. But I
Okay.
mean, they'd have to learn how to transfer to do something else where their value is.
Hmm.
But the other thing too is corporate America is fat with middle management. They have too many of them, and they need to slim down and find how to run companies
Hmm.
without as much nonsense in meetings and
Hmm.
reports that constantly
Yeah.
drive everybody crazy. So yeah, so those middle managers, I'd say go out. They can transfer, as we spoke to earlier, like they can go into a marketing field, they can go into an operations field. Uh, so there's a lot, or they can go back into sales and get some sales experience to actually learn what they
Yeah.
should have learned when they were younger.
Hmm.
But yeah, middle management, I love the question. Has never been a joy. But on the flip side, though, some of my middle managers who did rise up were the
Uh-huh.
greatest guys. When my book came out, they're like, where can I donate? And so they donated the books to their alma maters,
Hmm.
which was really nice of them. So, I mean, some of the guys that moved up to middle management, greatest people I've ever met. Some
Uh-huh.
that I moved up to middle management, shouldn't have been there in the first place,
Hmm.
and they should go figure something else that is
Yeah,
interesting. But then again, you got to try something to find out if you're good at it or not. And so,
that's true.
yeah.
Okay. So thank you so much, Mike. I mean, this conversation has been everywhere across careers for young people, experienced people, middle management. We're now finishing,
Yeah.
finishing this conversation off at this amazing point. So before we close, where can people get in touch with you and how can they know more about you? Because obviously
Okay.
this conversation was not enough.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the easiest way to get a hold of me is my website, Careers by the People. The other thing too is I'm on LinkedIn. I have a YouTube channel, and shockingly, guess what it would be called? Careers by the People. Yeah, so that's my whole world. And I have over 130 YouTube channels about career readiness. My second book is with the publisher, and I talk to students that are in college, and I'm like, how can they prepare for the real world? So I'm constantly trying to prepare and figure things out about career readiness. I mean, I
Mhm.
speak at schools, organizations, you name it. On-site or virtual. So,
Mhm.
it's always a joy. Here's the thing about it: it's always a joy talking to students because they'll ask the questions. I mean, that most people won't. And when
Yeah.
you do that, it's like, oh man. I mean, it's fun interviewing with you, but I mean, if I'm alive with students, I mean, my God,
Yeah.
it can be some of the coolest questions you'll ever get. And you'll be like, wow, I never thought of that. So, but yeah, again, I appreciate you taking your time and giving me the opportunity to be in your podcast. I think you have one of the more fun podcasts out there that is very educational as well. And you put those two together and it's successful. So congratulations on all your success and what you're doing to help out society as well as the people out there in the working fields and the students is so admirable. And I thoroughly appreciate your time and energy.
Thank you so much. I mean, Mike, those kind words meant a lot. I mean, getting that from a guest coming in means a lot. So, for the audience who's been watching and listening intently, don't forget to leave a like if you liked what we talked about. The comment section is always open for questions, perspectives, suggestions, and yeah, anything else you want to talk about. And don't forget to subscribe before you close the window itself. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you so much, Mike.